but I wanted to put a video out about living more and about mental health. And first, I am back. I was on a month-long adventure across the United States. We drove from California all the way to Vermont and went to a wedding, saw family. We had family come from Canada. We had a great trip. And so the theme of the month for me, and in the energy recalibrations that I do every month for my membership, if you're interested, um, please reach out. But it's this month's theme is live more. And as you can see, my hair is pink. And part of living more is doing things differently. And I had been thinking about coloring my hair for a while. And, but I really like my blonde hair. I mean, it's really pretty, but I thought, oh, I really like when I see those girls that have like the purple hair or the really red hair, which by the way, my hair was super, super dark when I first did it. It's now washing out a bit, which is what I don't like about the color, which is why I got a washout conditioner because the colors fade and I didn't like how they faded. But I always wanted to try it. And so living more is really about trying new things, getting out of your comfort zone. Turns out, I don't think I'm a pink girl, although it is growing on me. It's been a couple days and it's starting to grow on me. I think it's fun. Every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh, that's fun. I'm not sure it's me, but it's fun. And so I like that. My husband said I look like I've gotten a couple different things like My Little Pony, and I've gotten somebody from Disney. But whatever it is, it doesn't really even matter. It's hair and it's not our full identity. And yet we make how we look our identity. It's not. So it's good to change it up and do things differently. Um, I remember many years ago when I had been in excruciating pain. I mean, excruciating pain on a scale of 1 to 10. I was at a 20, and all the doctors would do was give me pain pills. And I've told this story before, but essentially what I did was I thought about killing myself because I thought if I can't get out of this pain, like, what's the purpose in living? And then I started to notice, when I was doing certain things, when I was in the present moment, the pain didn't exist anymore. And so that changed everything for me. And I started making a list about when I get out of pain, what are the things I'm going to do? So that's when I went from a brunette to a blonde. And I'm not in physical pain now, although I did have an episode not too long ago where I was in excruciating pain. And I was manageable, and within a week of complete total diving into the pain and really feeling the pain, I was able to get out of the pain. I think the thing about pain is that people don't want to be in pain, you know, and I can identify with that. Pain is not a lot of fun. However, pain is always a signal that there's growth that needs to occur. And physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, pain is a trigger for all those bodies. Those are all energetic bodies to come into alignment. It's telling you that something is absolutely out of whack. Now, if you are, I'm just getting my coffee. This is one of the things that came out of me getting braces was that they gave me a cup. Anyways, um, if you're one of those people who has a lot of pain, you know, medicine is not always the answer. At least it wasn't for me. There are other things that you can change, which is why I'm talking about mental health being a lifestyle. Because when you are in a lot of pain, it changes and distorts your perception about everything that you're experiencing. The things that you like, you become more engrossed in those things. And the things that you don't like, you become more repelled. None of that is really what it actually is when you have a distorted perception. Pain distorts your perception. So that's why I think that mental health is not just a day, although it's become really trendy to say, oh, it's mental health day. Let's give it some attention. And really, mental health is a lifestyle. It's always been a lifestyle. And the reason why it's become a day is because so many people are out of balance. And I'm going to break the news that going to therapy is not mental health necessarily. It's an aspect, but it's not going to give you all the answers. If you're working with a good practitioner, you will be establishing skills that employ into your lifestyle that change how you feel. And you shouldn't be in therapy. Well, in my opinion, therapy is not, it's become a business. It's not necessarily mental health, especially when it's all about prescribing, um, you know, pills that don't necessarily work. At least for many of my clients that have come to me with anxiety, most of them have been on anxiety medicine or at least been told they need to go on it. And, when that's a whole nother pattern that you're creating when you go on to anxiety medicine. But anyway, so what I thought I would do today is talk about what aspects are go into a mental health lifestyle, because I think a lot of people have ideas about it. They read about it and they get told what they're supposed to do, but there's no real good comprehensive list that I've seen that doesn't tell you to go outside of yourself. So what that means is, oh, go get a massage, go get your nails done, go talk to a therapist, go to a psychologist, go on a retreat, go on vacation. All of those things are happening outside of yourself. Mental health is always going to be about aligning your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. If your mental health lifestyle, if your lifestyle is omitting any aspect of what I just listed off, then you will have an imbalance. The imbalance creates disharmony within how those bodies are communicating. So when those bodies are not communicating well, what happens is physically, the internal body, the organs within your system, whether it's your lungs or your liver or your kidney or your gut biome, become disharmonious. And so that's why creating a lifestyle around your mental health is so important. So this list is, I think, pretty comprehensive. It's 10 things. And on this list, it's not a listed in priority. It's that they all need to be touched on in some aspect. So obviously, you need to be checking in on yourself. That's number one. Like, most people check in on themselves to notice that, oh, I'm anxious. Oh, this doesn't feel good. But they're not checking in regularly enough to know, well, what caused that to happen? Like, there's always going to be a trigger. The triggers absolutely never go away, they just become neutralized, which means that they don't trigger you anymore. But if you can't identify what's triggering you, well, then you're going to be triggered a lot. And that's why we have so many people that are out of balance and anxious and nervous and or depressed, is that they're getting triggered either way. And if you're not checking in on yourself, how am I feeling regularly throughout the day? That should be a habit. Like when you go someplace, do you feel good? When you're around a certain group of people, how does it make you feel? Notice those things. And I've told this story before, but I had this one client that was very much addicted to sweet tea. And they would drink sweet tea every day. And that sweet tea, once they started checking in with themselves, they were able to identify that that sweet tea, out of all the junk food they were eating, that sweet tea was the one thing that was causing them complete heartburn and indigestion, and causing them a lot of physical distress. So once they were able to identify that was the trigger, they could then address that, their approach to that. Now, did they cut out sweet tea altogether? Mm, they did for a while. And then when you start to incorporate it back in, it doesn't hit you as hard. So checking in with yourself on a regular basis is really good. The other thing is what he did, which is you make an adjustment. When you're checking in to see how you feel, you can then make adjustments. They don't have to be radical adjustments when you're checking in. They become radical when you are so out of balance and so resistant that you don't want to make changes. But when you're checking in on a regular basis, you just making a simple adjustment like, oh, that doesn't feel good. I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. It's done. So it doesn't have to be difficult. It's like I notice my husband loves Nutella. He loves to eat Nutella. I had a couple bites of Nutella and it just didn't feel good in my body. It wasn't that it didn't taste good. And it did taste good, but I don't have an affinity for it. Primarily because when I checked in on myself, I noticed it didn't feel good. And so I just didn't eat it anymore. So notice how things make you feel and then make small adjustments. When you're making micro adjustments over a course of a period of time, it influences how you feel physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. All those are connected. So when you're eating things that don't feel good to you, that affects you both physically, but also affects your chemicals mentally and emotionally. So you're actually noticing all aspects of your beingness when you start to check in. Um, Taking time to reflect and learn. So that's a little bit different than checking in because when you're taking time to reflect, you're literally asking yourself, well, what do I need to learn from this? And usually there's more than one lesson if it's something big. So during our trip, we had a couple big things that occurred that were where we met old friends or we saw old clients and we came into contact with something or somebody or a situation occurred. And there was like a big learning. And the learnings could be, anything from, what power is to what it's like to be retired and that you can really be happy and retired and little things and that you don't normally think about. So when you're in reflection and your learning is going to be something that you don't already know. That's how you grow. So the learning from a situation isn't something that you already know. It might be an aspect of that that's expanded, but it's going to be a new learning. That's how you grow. So when you learn and grow, your lifestyle becomes mobile, it becomes flexible, it becomes fluid, it becomes flowing. And that's how you learn and grow. The other thing that is really important is about creating healthy boundaries that create balance. So I remember when I was a triathlete and I was training all the time. That was my primary focus, and everything else fell underneath that. And I would have friends to said that I wasn't a good friend because I didn't have time for them because I was always training. And th that wasn't really healthy boundaries, to be honest with you, and my friends called me out on that, but I was so focused. I was okay with losing those particular friends because they were not, I don't like to be given ultimatums, and my focus was on training, but I was completely out of balance. If you didn't have anything to do with triathlons, we were not talking. That was my life at that time. That was my lifestyle. That was not a healthy, balanced lifestyle. I was completely focused um, on my training, but also on my spiritual development in relationship to my training. Because when you're pushing your body to the limits, there's some spiritual components to it. Now, I would offer to you in hindsight, those are not healthy ways of learning. That's learning the hard way. And, back then, that's what I was all about. I would always learn the hard way. And I kind of took that as like a badge of armor. It really was just a choice. And that's the way I thought I was built. And the truth is that you can learn the easy way. Once you choose to learn the easy way, your lessons will be more subtle and not have to kick you in the ass every single time. So I highly recommend learning the easy way opposed to being hard headed and resistant and needing to get hit over the head with something. Um, that's a choice. And not everybody chooses that. In fact, I have some clients that would consciously say, I learned the hard way, and they claim that for themselves. And what I'm offering to you today, that with a nice mental health lifestyle that's filled with balance, that you don't have to learn that way. You could choose to learn a different way. Um, your environment, does it make you feel good? Do you have aspects where it lifts you up? And like, so this morning I lit an incense and it made the space smell really nice. And it was really enjoyable as I was preparing for this video. I have my coffee made, little things that really support and encourage you to expand. So is it organized? Is it clean? Is it dirty? Like those things have an influence on how you feel. Oh, here's an activity that you could do. I'll just run it through real quick. Um, this is how you discover how your environment makes you feel. So you just close your eyes. This is a closing your eyes experience. You close your eyes and you just take a couple breaths. So in through your nose, exhale out through your mouth, and you're just relaxing and you're imagining you're walking in through the front door of your house. And what you're going to be looking for as you do a scan without your eyes open, your eyes are closed, you're just going to do a mental scan on any irritations that you have about when you're walking into your front door, once you're in your front door and you close it and you do a scan around the first room. How does anything stick out in your mind that causes an irritation or a frustration? Just make a mental note of it and go into the next room. And then you look in that room and you do a visual scan with your eyes closed and you notice, does anything in that space cause an irritation or a frustration? You make another mental note about that. Maybe it's something in the closet that needs to be taken care of. Maybe there's some things that need to be donated. Maybe you don't like the way the room is organized. And then you go into the restroom and you look in the restroom. Is there anything in the restroom that is standing out that doesn't resonate and that causes irritation? And you do this for each room you go through mentally. And then when you're done, you open your eyes, you get a piece of paper, and you write down all the irritations, all of them. Every single one that you remember from going through each room, all those irritations. And this becomes an irritation list. And this list, you do one thing a month to address the irritations. And that way you start to clean up your environment so you feel better when you're in that space. That's one way to address and have a really enjoyable environment that makes you feel good. Physical movement daily. You should be doing something physically. If you want to have strong mental health lifestyle, you have to have physical movement. And everybody is different. So not everybody is going to resonate to doing the same things. Like for me, like my body requires physical movement. Like if I am not moving physically, it changes how I feel. And so much so that I had a boss that asked me not to come into the office until I had had my workout. So I would go to the gym at like 4:45 and do my workout so I could be in a better mental state throughout the day, less irritable, less frustrated, more happy, joyful because I had taken care of my body. My physical body needs exercise. I like particular types of exercise. I've always loved riding the bike. I got a Peloton like 2 years ago, and I have to say, the bike is like a refuge to me. I love seeing and feeling sweat drip off of me, and even when I would just go to the gym, when I was like really exhausted, I would just get on the bike and I would just pedal for like 45 minutes just to get movement in my body. So sometimes you don't have to go all the way out, but movement for me is a requirement. Also, walking. I love to walk and be out in nature. Those are good things. But I also lift some small weights. I'm not big on lifting weights, but I used to be. But my body, I don't, I like it, but I don't enjoy the time as much as I enjoy the time on, like, doing Pilates. Like, I've tried other things other than Pilates, but I always go back to Pilates. Why? Because my body just resonates with that differently than other things. So you got to figure out like what does your body really enjoy? And if you don't like working out, I would say that mentally that is creating stagnancy in your perceptions. So it's going to distort them because if you don't feel good about your physical body, that's going to distort how you're perceiving your outside world. And it influences every aspect of how you are perceiving. So if you want to perceive things more clearly, more balanced, you have to do this aspect in some way, shape, or form. And it may not be like what I've described. Like before I went on my trip, I was working out all the time. Now that I've come back, my regimen is changing because I've changed. Now, what you might think is that I would kind of work my way back up, but instead I'm doing more frequency and more activity than I was before because that's what my body is needing after all the driving that we've done. So, um, goals. Everybody has different focus areas for their life. And I used to be very uh, huge on having goals, and I would do 21 goals every year, and I'd have 3 goals in every area, and everything had a date, everything had a rhythm, everything had a focus, and I would just, like, move forward. And, I really enjoyed that at the time. Now my focus is different. It's more on ease. I still do have focus areas. I don't have nearly as many, um, but mostly because I don't feel like I need as many goals to keep me moving because I have them in my awareness that they're a part of my lifestyle. And I think that's really the distinction between, when you've done something for so long, it becomes a part of who you are and it's like a regular aspect. So, but it's still good to have goals. So, like one of my big goals that I've been very public about, which is my physical health. Um, and I've been on a plan. I put my secret illness video out about what I've been contending with for years. And I just got another blood test thing and I've made more progress. So, I mean, this has been going on for years. So, not your goal is not to like get it all done at once. I couldn't possibly address all the problems at once. It's been incremental process. And so now I'm on like what I would say I got my blood test done and I have 48 markers. And of the 48 markers, I'm green, like meaning I'm not red, in 45. So there's 3 areas that I'm working right now to get me out of the red. And I have been like on it. And so I just stay focused. I don't try to focus on everything. I focus on little things that I can do to move the needle. So when I go to take my blood test again in a couple months, the blood should look different. Um, so have a focus. What are you focusing on? And it can't be just to get a new job and to get out of the situation that you're in. Your focus needs to be based on your lifestyle. And what kind of lifestyle are you going to create for yourself? Because if you go from one job to another, first of all, when you start a new job, guess what that is? It's stressful. It creates a different type of stressful environment for yourself. So that's not always the answer. You always want to create from where you're at, and then the job stuff and so forth will come. But if you are not focused on the direction of creating a better lifestyle for yourself that includes mental health, where you're not hating your job, which a lot of people hate their jobs. Well, hate is a strong focus and it actually siphons your energy out of you. And if you're having conflict or discord at work, which most people are having some type of conflict or discord at work, which creates mental stress and emotional instability, which affects your physical body. See how all this is working? You got to address those things. And the answer isn't that that person goes away, because that person is obviously gifting you this opportunity to see yourself differently. And that's really what I offer and invite you to look at is, how are those people that create the discord in your life, how are they gifting you a new perspective on how you can adjust and change? And that's not always easy to do, even for myself. When I have those people that pop up in my life, trust me, it's not easy, but that's the pathway to self discovery and getting more neutral. Okay, so emotional processing to attain a potential new inner state. And that really goes to when there's a conflict or a situation that you don't like or that you don't want, but it's there anyways, and you prefer it's not there, but there it is. It's right there for you. It's that sister or that brother or that niece or that whomever that is triggering you to have an awareness of, oh, this doesn't make me feel good. Well, most people just want to get rid of that thing that doesn't make them feel good. And certainly that might be an answer, the right answer for a lot of instances. And even in that answer, there's going to be that opportunity for, what is it that I need to address within myself? What are they gifting me that is showing me where I'm incongruent within myself? What emotions do I need to address? What aspects are created are unstable or unstable when you get triggered by that particular person? And that's when you identify that aspect, that's when you create a stronger inner state of being. And that's ultimately what's going to create the healthy mental state. The other thing that's really huge and nobody really talks about, and I saved it to the end, which is ego awareness. You want to be so astute when your ego is out of balance, when your ego is driving conversation, when your ego is in judgment, when your ego is in play. You can guarantee you're seeing everything distorted. So, what you want to begin to do is identify when your ego is out of balance. And when you have that awareness, then you can bring it back into balance. You cannot balance the ego when you're out of balance, because the ego will never be like, oh, you're out of balance. And ego doesn't work like that. Ego awareness is super valuable and critical to your mental health, because the ego is what keeps you in those behaviors that keep you mentally unstable, that allows your mind to be weak. And when your mind is weak, you have a weaker inner state. So you want to address that. And the final and last thing that I want to say about um, the body. So I've talked about the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, and now the spiritual body. And the spiritual body is really your inner connection, your heart connection. The heart is the first aspect. When you are being birthed into this world here on earth, the first element that is created is the heartbeat. It is at the core of who you are. So when you are in the mind and you're thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, you're disconnecting from the heart. When you are connected to the heart space, the heart frequency, you're connecting to source energy. So when you take that conscious breath and you're breathing into the heart space, you're reconnecting with source energy. Source energy is your connection to your spiritual body. And the stronger that is, the more all of your bodies will be congruent. So you definitely want to have an element of your day where you're just connecting to your heart, your conscious breath, whether you're in gratitude or in prayer during that time, or whatever it is that you need to do. The most important aspect is that you are acknowledging and truly, authentically connecting to your heart space. Now, the one thing that I will say is that a lot of people think that they're connecting to the heart space. And the thoughts about connecting to the heart space are very different than actually connecting with your heart space. So, when you're in connection with your heart space, it's not a thought, it's a knowing. And that's the distinction. And so, the ego will be very savvy in telling you that you are connected to your heart space when in fact you're connected to your brain, and you're thinking about being connected to your heart. Those are two different things. When you are in true connection to your heart space, your perceptions change about pretty much everything. Everything will change when you're in connection to your heart space. When you're in connection to the conscious breath, when you are in connection to source energy, perceptions can begin to change. If you are thinking about being in connection to your heart, you are not in connection, you are in thought. So you just want to be in connection to your heart and your knowing. That's how you know you're in connection with your heart. So, anyways, I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you like my pink hair. Um, Funny story, I did my hair pink knowing that I was going to go get my hair colored, and it turns out she needs to cancel the appointment. So I'm stuck with pink for a little longer than I thought I would be. How funny is that? So I don't know, I might go a little bit more pink until she can get me in. I haven't decided yet. What do you think? Should I stay pink or go blonde? All right. Bye. Okay, how do I stop this video? Let me see.